Bien, mais écoutez, je vous remercie de vous installer, d'être venus très très nombreux. Je sais qu'il y a beaucoup d'étudiants aussi qui sont dans d'autres salles. Je voudrais simplement remercier d'abord Franck Argentin et Rbc de nous avoir permis une si belle rencontre et si exceptionnelle. Et bien sûr, je salue M. Fujimoto avec beaucoup de plaisir et d'honneur de vous avoir ici aujourd'hui. Je remercie aussi Anna Cole qui est à côté de lui et qui va nous permettre, à des moments où vous manifesterez, vous n'aurez peut-être pas tout compris, de vous résumer l'intervention, mais il n'y aura pas de traduction immédiate, c'est plutôt une mise au point sur un système plus souple, en tous les cas, qui permettra d'avoir un discours linéaire et continu. Et puis, merci à Florence Puech et à Constance Tagy, à l'ensemble du personnel de l'école d'avoir organisé cet accueil. Et après la conférence, vous avez donc une signature d'ouvrage dans le hall 1. Et en tout état de cause, on est à votre disposition pour tout problème que vous pourriez nous révéler. Merci beaucoup et je passe la parole à Franck Argentin.
Bonjour, je vous remercie déjà d'être aussi nombreux, ça fait très plaisir. Ça donne envie de refaire des conférences et d'être partenaire de l'Ensam comme on l'est depuis plus d'un an aujourd'hui. RBC est très fier d'accueillir aujourd'hui M. Sou Fujimoto à l'École nationale supérieure d'architecture de Montpellier et aussi de l'accueillir au sein du showroom du Design Center puisqu'il y a une présentation de maquette de son travail jusqu'au 27 janvier où vous êtes conviés à venir visiter puisque c'est ouvert au public à partir de demain. Je tenais à remercier tous ceux qui nous ont aidés et sans qui on n'aurait pas pu réaliser cette venue de M. Fujimoto, notamment Alain Gillet, Marie de France de l'agence Sou Fujimoto, Nicolas Lenné, Manal Rajdi, l'Ensam, bien sûr, qui nous accueille aujourd'hui pour leur soutien au quotidien sur ces organisations. Je vais juste vous dire quelques mots sur l'agence. Donc, M. Fujimoto a fondé son agence à Tokyo, où travaillent 30 collaborateurs. Ces projets de maison sont publiés dans le monde entier. Il appelle son style l'avenir primitif et on a fait le titre d'un de ses livres. Dans les réalisations en Europe, je vous fais très vite, il y a aujourd'hui uniquement la Serpentine Gallery qui a été réalisée en 2013. Et sinon, il y a des projets en cours, 2 maisons en France, un projet de musée au Château Lacoste, et un projet de maison en Espagne et un en Normandie. Dans ces travaux, juste rapidement, il y a le centre de réadaptation pour handicapés qui a été réalisé en 2006, qui a été son premier chantier, la Finale Wooden House qui a été réalisée en 2008, avec réalisé par bloc solide de cèdre du Japon, créant des imbrications d'où naissent des espaces de vie intérieure. Ensuite, il y a eu la House N en 2008, dessinée, c'est un projet de maison conçu et optimisé pour loger 2 personnes et un animal de compagnie, avec un jardin semi-ouvert sur 3 espaces imbriqués. Ensuite, il y a eu un grand projet de musée-bibliothèque, Musashino en 2010, la House NA en 2011, et donc l'architecte Sou Fujimoto est le 13e et à 41 ans le plus jeune architecte à accepter l'invitation de concevoir la structure temporaire de la Serpentine Gallery en 2013, avec une architecture translucide, géométrique, qui invite à l'exploration de l'espace et qui part du cube pour créer une forme mouvante et organique. Juste un dernier mot, et je vais lui laisser la parole. Moi, je suis très honoré et enchanté de le recevoir aujourd'hui. J'espère que demain, une page pourra se tourner autour du design, parce que c'est aussi ma deuxième passion, et je lui cède la parole. Je vous remercie beaucoup.
Bonjour. I'm Sou Fujimoto. Sorry, I couldn't speak French, so I will speak in English. And I'm from Tokyo, and today I'm really happy to see so many people come to this lecture. Thank you very much for inviting me. And so thank you very much for sponsoring and supporting this event. Today I like to talk about of course, my projects, but the title is Between Nature and Architecture. It's the things recently I'm very more and more interested in. It's very fundamental, the nature and architecture, not designing not only architecture, but how to make a relation between nature and architecture. It's very fundamental, but it's very important and exciting things. And not only things between nature and architecture, but I like to talk about more different option of something between. Because when we think about the relation between nature and architecture, for example, we will think about something between outside and inside. Outside is more nature, inside is more architecture, but when we mix them together, we could get something new and exciting. Or if we think about the nature and architecture, we think about the breaking the boundaries between architecture and landscape or something like that. So this main theme between nature and architecture is spreading around through the whole theme of architecture, I think. So it's a very simple sentence, but it has very deep meanings, I think. And to explain some of my project, today I brought very early project of mine. In some of them, it's almost about 18 years old. Some of the project is just after my graduation from school. So it's a little bit, how to say, strange feelings for me to show this kind of a very early, not so fantastic project. But it is, some of the concept is continuous through these 15 years, 16 years, and appearing in a very different appearance, or depending on the situation, it's changing, but the fundamental flow of the concept is still ongoing. So it's, I think, very important project. And then you will see the diversities of the ideas, or diversities of the how the ideas grows in a different way, depending on the different programs, or depending on different sites or different cultures. So the concept is very simple, but the architecture realization is so diverse and so rich, I think. And that is, I believe, showing how the architecture is fantastic and how we can continue the architecture design. And this is the one almost 17, 18 years ago. It is for the idea competition. And the jury was Jean Nouvel, the French really great architects. And the theme was very interesting, the simplicity and the complexity. So it was quite, in a sense, very simple sentence, but has a very deep meanings. How we understand the simplicity and how we understand the complexity of architecture. So, yeah, this is it. And the idea is quite strange. This is a house, but you will see many wall-like things. And I thought it was kind of a translucent glass wall. And I was thinking about how we can make house in a very simple way, and then to make the complexity of the richness of the privacy and the publicness in such a simplicity. So using only these kind of translucent walls, we make sometimes wall, glass wall, glass wall, glass wall. So if you are getting inside, more inside, it's getting more opaque, more like a wall. And if you are going outside, it's more like a transparent. So, for example, this deep inside, at that time for me, the most private area is the toilet. So it's very strange, but deep inside is the toilet mark. And then go outside, it's for the living space, for example, or more like really close to to the public, and then another house is here. So all the boundary of the house is now translucent or almost transparent. But if you have a layers of the wall, then if you can get more deep inside, like in the fog or in the cloud, getting more privacy. So this is the concept, breaking out the strong walls to make more gradations from privacy to the public. So if you are deep inside, these areas is your house. And then your house is almost vanishing around here, then public areas, and then getting another house. So I try to create such kind of a really basic concept to define where is the boundaries of your house, where is inside, where is outside. In this project, there is no clear inside, no clear outside, no clear privacy, no clear public, but everything is gradually changing. So then, it's the opposite concept of the usual architecture, because architecture is defining the areas by walls. But taking out the walls just to make a gradations from your privacy and my privacy it's like a cloud. So that was the concept. And using only one element of the translucent walls, then various different range of the privacy or various different range of the openness are created. So that is my answer to the simplistic complexity. And the result was I just lost. So I didn't get any prize and something. But for me, this kind of fundamental conceptual challenge to re-understand what is architecture, or re-understand what is the boundaries, or re-understand what is the privacy and public was the starting point, one of the starting point of my architectural thinking. So I was thinking about between inside and outside. And this is another project. It's also the conceptual idea competitions. And this time I won the first prize, the only one first prize for me for the idea competition. And this is another residential project. And the site, I set the site in the middle of the Tokyo city. And this is the place I was living at the time, about 16 years ago. And the concept is very simple. Here, I have a small rooms. But this is not the whole house, but I have another very small rooms, 1 minute's walk from here. And then 3 minutes walk, I have another sleeping rooms. And then this is maybe the study area or something like that. So the idea is to divide the usual house into smaller pieces and spread them out throughout the Tokyo city and then connect them by just walking. Because at that time I was alone, I didn't work for anybody, and I was just doing my conceptual thinking. Then my daily life is just, of course, wake up in around noon, not morning, wake up very late, and then start to think about sketching or making models. But then 1 or 2 hours later, I just go out to walk around these areas because I have a lot of time, so I just walk around. Sometimes I went to stop by the cafe and have a coffee and then sketching, and then 30 minutes later, again walking around. That was my daily life. And then I found out, or I thought, if I have 1 more or 2, 3 more rooms, the smaller things is okay, but if I have 2, 3 rooms in the walking distance of these Tokyo areas, then my house is not only here, but the whole walking experiences, the whole experiences in the city could be the house. And then again, I like to break the boundaries of the house or boundaries of the architectures, and then try to melt the house into the city. Because, this is the typical Tokyo small street. And these guys, it's could be very messy, but for me, it's very comfortable because of the size, the scale. It's sometimes the 4 meter wide or 2 meter wide and made by many these kind of smaller things. So you were just surrounded by the smaller things and the smaller scales. So the scales in your house and the scales on the street is not so different. And so it could be more continuous. Even on the street, it's outside, it's not your house, but you feel somehow comfortable and you know this street very well, then it is part of your house, I felt. So in the Tokyo city, sometimes, even in such urban situations, you feel the really private or intimate feelings. So that is my inspirations to melt the urban situation and house or architecture situations melting together, to break out the boundaries of the walls, boundaries of the architectures, and to create some new definition of the living environment. And this is... okay.
Juste au cas où. Donc c'est un projet pour un concours qu'il a donc gagné, où il a essayé de trouver une idée de maison séparée, donc où les différents éléments de la maison se trouvent à des endroits différents, où tout est relié à la marche, donc 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Et comme les rues de Tokyo sont très étroites et que les espaces sont toujours très réduits, en fait, il n'y a pas énormément de différence entre les pièces d'une maison et ce qu'on retrouve dans la rue. Donc l'idée était de se dire que même dans la rue, on se sent un peu chez soi, dans sa maison.
Is it okay? Should I do the one sentence translation? It's okay? Okay. Anyway, yeah, this is another typical Tokyo view. And this pathway, it's a private plot, but everybody can use it. So it's a kind of an in-between situation. It's private, but open to the public. And you will see how these kind of a small guys is creating the atmosphere of the Tokyo street. So this is a part of the presentation panel. Oh, it's too dark, sorry. But you will see different color lines is showing different territory of the different houses. So, of course, this point is maybe something is blocking this area. Oh yeah, this. Oh, it's getting. Okay. This point is the position of the rooms, but not only these actual rooms, but these areas. Of course, you can walk as you like, so the shape of the house is changing every time as you walk. But anyway, I try to understand the territory of the house, something like this. It's more like a formless form, and just the territories of your behaviors. So in here, I try to create such kind of something between city or urban situation and architecture. Try to break out the boundaries again. And then, this is another typical street of Tokyo. And you will see how these kind of small things is creating in a sense, really comfortable. And in a sense, it's really strange situation. And this one, it's my hometown. I was born not in Tokyo, but in Hokkaido. It's a northern island full of nature. So my hometown, and this is my home garden. It's like this, like a forest. And then suddenly, when I come to university, I moved to Tokyo, and then living in such a situation. I was, of course, surprised. But then I felt not so, bad feelings, but more comfortable. And I didn't know why, because it's so different, these beautiful nature things, and these kind of not so beautiful, ugly things. Gradually, after learning the architecture, and after thinking about the relationship between nature and architecture, I realized the similarity between these two situations. This one, the forest, are made by many, many small trees, branches, and leaves are creating some kind of a environment. It's beautiful. In Tokyo as well, many, many ugly but the smaller things. Of course, houses is small and small billboards or some electricity cable. Every kind of the smaller things is creating the environment. So, of course, this is ugly. This is beautiful. But how the space are composed is almost the same. The space are made by the smaller things. Different size, different scales of the smaller things are coming together to create the human scale territory. That is why I felt not so bad or more comfortable even in such a Tokyo situation. And then I realized that this is super artificial and this is super natural. But throughout artificial things and natural things, we could create the same quality of the space using or handling the scales or handling the size of the space or handling how the materials are composed. So here, we don't have any differences between artificial things and natural things, but it has more similarity. So that was a surprising thing for me. And then after that, of course, at the time I started to learn architecture. So for me, the architecture is not just designing the artificial things, but to create something between nature and architecture or the mixture of nature and architecture to create just a rich living environment. So I was thinking about something between nature and architecture. So this is not just a project, but the experience I felt throughout the life in Hokkaido, my hometown, and Tokyo. So that was very, very big starting point for me to think about architecture. And the third project of my early days is this one. This is another conceptual house, and this is not for the competitions. It is just for me, just for thinking about my own future concept of architecture. And in this case, I try to create something like the Local Visuals Domino things. Try to create really fundamental base of my own architecture thinking. So I was thinking about the simple house, but something new. And then the result was, the house or space made by many, many, many steps. And these steps, the size is 35 centimeter. So you can sit on, or double size, the 70 centimeter you can use as a table, or the many steps could be used as shelves. And then you can, of course, walk up like a stairs. And then another levels or upper levels, it's like a landscape, the whole landscape of the house. And then you will use these landscape as you like, no clear functions in it. But if you behave on it or behave against it, then some function is coming. If you like to sit on, this is getting like a chairs. And if you use like a tables, or it's getting like the tables. So the functions is becoming in the relationship between your behaviors on the space. So then it is more like breaking down the functional architectures or the boundaries between architecture and the landscape, or boundaries between furniture and the architectures. So every kind of things is mixing together to create these artificial spaces.
Je vais juste faire un petit... donc, c'est une création qui n'a pas du tout été faite pour un concours, juste pour lui. Donc, une création avec des planches à 35 cm d'écart, qu'on peut faire à 70 cm pour augmenter l'écart entre les planches. Et ces planches, en fait, peuvent être utilisées en tant que chaises, bancs, tables, étagères, escaliers. C'est à la personne qui se trouve dedans de trouver la fonctionnalité de l'architecture qui l'entoure.
And this is a photo image I myself took in an Asian country. And as you can see, this is typical Asian situation full of things, and this is a marketplace. So many things, but she gave up to sell things just as she's sleeping. But it's really surprising things because, of course, the sleeping things is one of the surprising things. But I was so fascinated by how she found out her own comfortable space. In a sense, in these chaotic situations, she could find her own functions in the relationship between these items, many items, and her body. So it is showing the creativity of people. In such a chaotic situations, no function situations, people could behave in a comfortable way to find out it's her own new functions. So that is one of the great inspirations to design these things, because if you can provide such kind of a landscaping or trigger or inspirations for people, then people could behave really creatively. And we don't have to provide how to use it. It's more like depending on the creativity or depending on the inspirations of the peoples facing through this landscape.
Donc ça sert à nourrir la créativité des gens. Au lieu d'imposer la fonctionnalité de certains éléments, on laisse le libre cours à l'imagination et à la créativité de ceux qui utilisent les éléments pour définir ce qui vont devenir. Donc ici l'exemple de cette femme qui dort au milieu d'un magasin sur un comptoir et qui trouve un certain confort parce qu'elle a besoin de le trouver.
Okay, so anyway, of course this model is made by Flaxy and it looks beautiful, but in my mind the behaviors of the people is something like this. It's more exposed the reality of the life, and our architecture is just a platforms. So the purpose of this project is not to make the beautiful model, but to provide just a platforms for people to behave as they like in their own real life. So I was imagining these beautiful platforms are filled with these kind of really chaotic things and daily stuffs. And then the real life is getting architecture itself. So here I thought about something between furniture and architecture, or architecture landscape, or architecture and the human's behaviors, or something like that. But anyway, as you can see, in my younger days, I was thinking about how we can mix them together, the outside, inside, not dividing these things into two areas, but to create or to find out something new between these opposite things. So furniture and architecture, landscape architecture, inside, outside, nature and architecture, these kind of things is not the opposite to concept, but we could find the gradations between the opposite side, and then to find out some hidden areas or hidden space in between these kind of things. So after that, gradually, such kind of in-between things is part of my very important concept. And this Serpentine, last year's Serpentine project is really clearly showing how such kind of in-between concept is getting some new architectural typology. So this is the pavilion, and this Serpentine series is now it's getting very famous. It is 13 years starting from Zaha Hadid and Toyo Ito or Frank Gehry and John Novell and Sana, Helton of the Moon. And I don't know why, but really strangely last year they pointed me out. Maybe, I don't know. But then it was in a sense big pressure for me, because after such kind of a big monster-like guys, how we can do that. But finally I found out, anyway, I just can't do what I have been thinking, and I just can't do what I'm thinking. So my staff is discussing our concept in a deep levels and find out finally this kind of using the grids and a smaller size like this previous project, and still making something new and try to create this kind of structure. And yeah, as you can see, this is made by really thin frames, 2 centimeter, and the grade is 40 centimeter. A little bit bigger than the previous one. Previous one is 35 centimeter. This one is 40 centimeter. Because I was thinking the British people is bigger than the Japanese people, so slightly getting bigger. But anyway, and the grid size is not only 40 centimeter, but the mixture of the 40 centimeter and the double size, the 80 centimeter, to create the variations of the densities. But anyway, basically using the grids, so really artificial order. But then the whole shape outside and the whole shape inside is very soft, like an organic shape, and nicely harmonizing to the surrounding beautiful greens. So there is something between really strong artificial order and unexpected soft complex shapes. And this is the plot. And the left hand, we have the existing serpentine gallery, and this front yard is the site. You will see how this shape is really strange cloud-like forms. And yeah, this is the half interior, half exterior photo, because it is all made by these thin frames. But some area, the frame is very, very dense. So it is like a wall. In some area, it's like an open. In some area, less dense, so it's getting very transparent. So in here, we don't have any clear walls, but just the densities of the frames is creating the territory of inside and the feelings of the openness outside. And the starting point was, yeah, this photo. This image is the photo I took last year on site when I visited the first time to the site and talk about the project. And yes, in the Kenjinto Garden, the Hyde Park area, they have these kind of very, very beautiful tree branches, and I was fascinated by that. And I just took the photos. And this is showing how the nature is amazingly creating the complexity by the simplicity. It's amazing. So such kind of a mixture of complexity, simplicity, or the things is the topic I have been pursuing so much. So how we can create, not just imitate this kind of tree shape, but how we translate these kind of amazing things in an artificial order. And then this kind of things is finally coming out. Yeah, you will see how the whole shape is strange, softly, and some of the areas is too dense, so it's almost just a white. In some area it's less dense, so getting more transparent. And the people will walk up on the rooftop of this, because we put the glass on it. So it is like a stepping areas of the previous project. So this woman looks like just floating in the middle of the cloud. And this is exterior view from the ground level. So the whole shape is almost formless forms. And you will see, you couldn't see where is the entrance, but here you can come in, and then you will see, even inside you will see your figures from outside, but then you feel actual feelings of the inside, still surrounded by the transparency and translucencies. And this is the inside view. Inside is the cafe usually. So we have a cafe counter around here, and many people is getting coffee, teas, and sometimes using just the usual table, chairs, and sometimes going up to sitting on to read books, something like that. So these stepping areas is like a stepping project of the previous one, and yeah, something like that. And the transparent areas, dense areas, and this is another entrance. We have 2 different entrances. And then getting more transparent again, something like that. So you will see how it is creating something between inside and outside. And something between artificial order and natural complexity. And then even inside we have big openings on the roof. So this is the areas you will feel the feelings of surrounded by the wall or surrounded by the cloud but open to the sky. And everybody, even in such an old lady, try to walk up. Maybe this kind of stepping landscape inspire people to behave, not only sit on, but just walking up to reach to the top around here. And this is one of the very messy sketches. At the beginning I was thinking about how we can provide the comfortable sitting space for people visiting. Because this is a part of the park and the main program is the cafe. So try to create just a comfortable and nice place for people. But just putting the benches is of course boring. And so I was thinking about making the kind of a strange staircases to create multi-direction staircases to create spaces. And then it is growing to be more like these kind of grid systems. Yeah, in this phase we are thinking about the landscape-like things. Yeah, this is the bad Frank Gehry-like shapes. But I was thinking about how we can create the landscape. And then after this model, I thought it could be fine to transform this Frank Gehry landscape into the grids, made by the grids, but still landscape-like things. And then we found out the final option. And then we made finally the 1 to 10 big scale model because this is too complicated. We have been designing in computer, but on the computer screen it's almost impossible to see what it is. It's just many lines, and you couldn't see the feelings of the depth or feelings of space. So after such kind of a precise structural design and something, we decided to make it in the real 1 to 10 scale. And finally we understand what it is. And after making these models, I find out some areas is too usual or too smooth. So try to change a bit, add some cubes or cut some elements. And then every time I add or I cut, such kind of activities is fed back to the computer. So the conversation from the computer and the physical models has been done. But finally it's done. And you will see how the transparency is getting more and more whitey, opaque walls. But the reality is everything is made by the same grids and the same elements. So such kind of a depth, feelings of depth is quite important. And then you will feel something between inside and outside, or between the green walls and the white walls, and between furniture scales and architecture scale or landscape things, and of course between nature and architecture things. And of course this place is not only for cafe, but such as stepping areas is like these rooms, like an auditorium purposes. So this is the opening lecture day, so many people is sitting on each levels. So sometimes such kind of things, and sometimes it's more like a cloudy feelings. Depending on the activities, the atmosphere is changing. And for the dogs, it's very nice place because the 40 centimeter is nothing for dogs. He can just walk around, no matter how the walls or transparencies. And the children, it's quite exciting place to walk up or to walk through it. So maybe these meanings of these frames is so different from our human scales and children's scales of the dogs and some things. And in the evening, it's something like that. So the inspirations is coming from these surroundings, the beautiful nature. So I was thinking how we can celebrate such kind of a beautiful surroundings, even from the inside. And then these kind of transparent or translucent structures ideas is coming out. But then how we welcome people as a cafe or as a lecture space. I was thinking about such kind of landscaping, something, and of course I was thinking about my early project. I didn't want to repeat just my early works for the realization, so I like to update more and more. So these kind of grid systems could have a meaning, sometimes meanings of walls, could have a meanings of the window, and could have a meanings of just how to say, the environmental or the cloud-like things. This is coming out. But you will see how we can make, of course this is just a video, but how we can make such kind of ambiguity, the positive ambiguity between nature and architecture, between strong artificial order and natural shape, and between furniture and architecture, landscaping, every kind, such kind of things is could be melded within one form of architecture. And then I'd like to show similar. Oh, okay.
Je voulais un petit recap. Donc c'est The Serpentine Gallery, donc un projet qui a été inspiré non seulement par les autres projets, mais aussi par des arbres. Donc on a vu la photo à Hyde Park, où on retrouve, même avec quelque chose de très simple, une certaine complexité. Donc il a voulu recréer cette complexité avec quelque chose de très simple en utilisant un système d'ossature très ordonné, très encadré, très précis. Donc avec des cases de 40 cm qu'on peut doubler à 80 cm. Il y a des endroits où l'ossature est très dense, donc ça fait presque l'effet d'un mur. Et à d'autres endroits, c'est presque transparent. Des endroits où c'est carrément ouvert, on voit le ciel, on peut monter dessus, on peut s'asseoir, il y a un endroit comme un amphithéâtre, il y a ce mélange de nature, d'architecture, de mobilier et d'architecture, tout ce qui le passionne et qui l'intéresse depuis qu'il a commencé tous ses projets.
Yeah, this is a private house project in Tokyo, and you will see the similarity between the Serpentine project and this one. This one is of course before the Serpentine, but this is a real house, and the two a couple, living in this house. And the concept of this house is, yeah, you will see how this house is different from a usual house, because the starting point was this small plot. It's about 6 meter wide and it's 9 meter depth, so it's almost nothing. So usually, if we like to get the biggest rooms in this small plot, it's just a small, boring rooms. So we like to, client and me, like to avoid such kind of a maximization of the boring things. So we did the opposite things. We divide smaller things, smaller plots in smaller pieces, and then dividing into the like a furniture scales, and then to create the different levels to make the whole, how to say, space like a 20 different levels house. So you can see these, for example, this one is about 1.4 meter by 1.4 meter, and the biggest, even the biggest floor is 2.5 meter by 2 meter. So it's everything is like a furniture size. So stacking the furniture up 20 times if this house is coming out. But the main idea is how we can create the diversities in your life or in your living environment. The clients was talking about their lifestyle at the beginning. They are like nomado. The nomado is always moving around in the house to find out new place to just, for example, read books or to eat something or to do the computer, internet. Every time they just moving around to find a comfortable place for them, they said. So it inspired me a lot. It is just like to the previous many steps house, but I was surprised to hear in reality these guys is doing such kind of life. So I try to create the diversities for them to choose according to their feelings. Then choose one area, and then next day different area, stepping up, upper levels, lower levels. Such kind of variations of the places was the concept. So we try to divide these small plots into smaller pieces to create the diversities or variations, and then to compose them again with different levels. Because different levels could create sometimes, this table size floor is, in a sense it is a floor, but sometimes it works as a table or works as a benches or works as some other meanings. So if you combine these smaller pieces in the different levels, then the whole house is, in a sense, one room and with many furnitures. Or the whole house is divided into 20 different rooms, many rooms. Or some area, these two levels are combined together to be the one living space. Or this space is almost like just a shelves. But sometimes for you, you can just sit inside this house like a really cozy private areas. So the meanings of the place is always changing according to your behaviors to this space. Then it could have a lot of the